Jerry back with Theatrically Jerry, and today we are going to be doing a in-depth review on CyberPower's PFC Sinewave series. This is model CP1500. Included with purchase is the main unit here. This is a 2U rack unit, so what that means is it's going to take up 2 spaces on your rack instead of a 1U. It's a 2U. You're also getting this Ziploc bag that comes with a USB cable as well as your rack screws and a user manual. So definitely keep this user manual because there's a lot of important information about this unit in there as well as how to operate it. This UPS measures 17 inches long by 10.6 inches deep by 3.4 inches high. I love that they scaled the depth of this UPS back. It can fit in racks with depths as little as 14 inches. That's due to the 10.6 inch deep measurement from front to back here. It weighs a hefty 26.8 pounds, and that's with its mostly all plastic shell. So where's all this weight coming from? Well, the weight comes from the internal battery, which we will look at later on in this review. The CP1500 is capable of supporting 1500 VA at 1000 watts. That's for its battery backup power, not for its mains. Let's take a look at the front of this unit. The face of CyberPower's CP1500 features an elegant and unique looking face grille cover here. I love the pattern and attention to detail on this UPS. On the right here, we have a multifunctional color LCD display. To the right of the display are your buttons. So we have a power button here at the top, and then we have our display button right here, which is also the down button, oddly enough, even though the arrow's up, facing up. We also have our mute button, which happens to be the up button, even though it's facing down. This is according to the user manual, by the way. And we also have our setup button. Let's take a look at the user interface and let's see if these arrows are correct or if the manual was wrong. All right, let's go ahead and power on this unit so we can take a look at the user interface. So we are greeted here with the main display, and as you can see, there'll be some icons that you can check to make sure the UPS is operating as it should. Up here at the top, we have our battery capacity indicator, and this is indicated in 20% increments. So right now, as you can see, the battery is fully charged. Below that, we have a online plug icon here, and that is telling you that the utility power is connected to equipment, so that means it's working. Right next to that, we have a little leaf. It says saving, and this little leaf is meant to tell you that this is an energy saving mode. So the UPS is in energy saving bypass mode. This is the Green Power UPSTM technology that's built into this UPS. Below that is your load meter. As you can see, I have nothing plugged into the back of it, so the load is at 0%. Below that is your event display here. So the event is the meter that records the number of power outages. So we obviously haven't had a power outage, so it's going to display as 0. By selecting the up and down arrows, we can actually change this. So I'm going to go ahead and hit up, and this is your estimated run time, and it's at 273 minutes. So Your estimated runtime displays the UPS with current battery capacity and load. Um, so the battery's fully charged, there's no load. It's saying that it would run for 273 minutes. Not entirely sure how accurate that is, but okay. Next, it says 100%. That is your battery percentage. Your current load is going to display an output, and that is going to be in a VA percent. So the current output is at 0% for me because, as I said, there's nothing currently plugged into the UPS. You can also display it in wattage as well, which is at 0%. And you can also display your hertz of the output. So 60 hertz is standard for our American Power. So it's going to display 60 hertz. And right now the output's at 122 volts. And the input's at 122 volts. All right, in order to get to the more advanced menu options, you're going to hold down the setup button here for a few seconds. Now you're in your advanced menu mode. As you can see, this will also accompany an icon. So right now this is our output and it's set to NOR or normal. You can select the voltage quality of the input utility power. If high is selected, the UPS will go to the battery mode more often to supply the cleanest power to your connected devices. If it is low, then the UPS will tolerate more power fluctuations and go to battery mode less often. So I'm going to keep mine at normal, but if you want, you can change it to low or high, obviously. Our next option here is going to show a little up arrow, and this is for your utility quality settings. So this is for fixed voltage ranges, and they can be chosen, obviously, and set. So right now, we have it set to 140 volts, which is the default. So I'm going to keep it there, but you can change that. You can also change your down voltage. It's set to 98 volts at default, but you can change it from anywhere to 91 volts to 103 volts. So you can fine tune the load transfer voltage in this function. We're going to go ahead and hit down. And we're going to be greeted with our next menu here. And our next menu is your low battery warning. And right now, as you can see, it has an estimated run time of 5 minutes. So that's the default. An audible alarm will sound and the on bat icon will show, and it'll be flashing when the remaining runtime is less than the value selected. So I like to keep mine at the default on here because CyberPower has a pretty great default setting, but you can change this anywhere from 5 to 8 minutes. Like I said, 5's fine because it's the default. Our next menu is B-T, and this is the self-test battery test. The default's no action, but you can actually test this by hitting this and then hitting yes. So this is going to perform a self-test on the battery. And that was the battery self-test. We're going to go ahead and take a look at L-T. And L-T is for your LCD test. So you can hit the setup button once here and then hit yes. And it just shows all of the characters as well as the icons for the LCD display, making sure that it's working properly. So these are just a couple of things CyberPower has built in for diagnostics. We're going to go ahead and hit down again. And this is our event reset. So we haven't had any events because this is a brand new unit, but you can hit yes on that, and then that will reset your counter. And then our last thing here is def, and this is going to reset everything to factory default. So you can hit your setup button and hit yes. And that's just going to change everything to factory default, just in case you decide you don't like how your UPS is running. You can always return it to factory default, so you don't have to worry about changing any of these settings, because if you do mess them up, you can always go back to a clean factory default. All right, I'm going to show you guys a couple of tips and tricks on the CP1500. So as you can see, the LCD display decides to go into a power saving mode or sleep mode. To get rid of that, you're going to go ahead and hold the display button for 2 seconds. And you heard that beep. That means the sleep mode is off on this. So this display is always going to be on, which is great if that's what you want. I prefer the default, but to each their own. Another tip and trick is this bottom button here. If you hold this down, it's going to mute the system, which I actually like because I hate hearing the beeping sound. It makes me think there's something wrong when there isn't. However, if something does go wrong, you're not going to have an audible beeping sound. So you can go ahead and turn that back off by holding that down. We already looked at the setup button here. If you hold it down for 2 seconds, you can access the setup modes that I just showed you guys. If you hit display and setup at the same time for 2 seconds, you can clear the event counter. So the UPS will beep twice. I'll go ahead and show you guys that. And as you can see, the event counter shows up and it's set to 0. So those are a couple of tips and tricks when you're using CyberPower's CP1500. The back of the CP1500 features a clean and uncluttered layout. To the left here, we have our exhaust fan, and it's got a nice honeycomb grill on it. It looks great. And then to the next of that, we have our circuit breaker. So if your circuit breaker ever pops, you just press this red button and it will reset the circuit breaker. Below the circuit breaker, we have our power cable. This is the main power line. To the right, we have our expansion port, and you remove these 2 screws here, and you can actually install RM cards. So this allows you to monitor live statistics from the UPS using CyberPower's apps that you can download. They offer both an Ethernet or a Wi-Fi solution card, and they're of course sold separately. I would have loved to have seen it included with this unit because they're not cheap. Below that is our red LED. This is for wiring fault. So if you have a fault with your system, this red warning LED is going to light up, and that could be for anything such as a bad fault or backwards wiring. So I like to see safety features. I was glad to see that they included that as well. Next, we have 2 network ports. We have our in and out. These are typical RJ45 Ethernet jacks. I was glad to see that they included this as well, as it protects your 1G bidirectional network connection. So this does have 1G. I would have liked to seen a 2.5G, but of course that would make this unit cost even more. And bottom here, we have a serial plug. So this is a dry contact port. This port produces information for equipment that can read dry contact signals. I'll probably never use that, but it's great to see that they've included it. And to the right of the dry contact port is the USB port. And as you saw earlier, they do include a USB cable for this. So you're probably asking what that's for. Well, the USB port allows for direct connection to a PC or laptop to monitor in real time your stats in the PowerPanel Business software that CyberPower does include. You can go ahead and download that. Now onto the fun part, which is the power aspect of this UPS. We have 8 power outlets here, and they include ground, which obviously is a good thing, and is also for safety. I was glad to see that. Each outlet is capable of surge protection and battery backup. So all of these are surge and battery backups. You might be wondering though, what's going on over here? Why are these special? Well, they move these over here for power block connection. So if you've ever had a super chunky power block and it's not obviously going to fit here, you can fit 2 over here. And they did that to nicely space out the power jacks here, so you don't have to feel overcrowded, obviously, and also so if you do plug something in, it's not going to overlap and cover one of the outlets. The battery is the heart of this unit. The CP1500 has a 12-volt sealed lead acid battery. It's easily replaceable by removing the 2 screws right here on the front of this grill plate. And then you're just going to take this grill plate off and remove the red and black cable that attached to the battery. And you just simply pull the battery out from the front here. So I was glad to see that they included a super easy and quick battery replacement. You will, of course, have to buy an approved battery that fits the CyberPower CP1500. The 12-volt battery is capable of 3.1 minutes of battery backup, and that's at full load, or 10.2 minutes at a half load capacity. The typical recharge time of the battery is 8 hours. These specs are within range of what I experienced. I got about 3 minutes at full load, and that included my PC, a laptop, 2 network switches, 2 touch screens, and 2 desk lights. With just my PC and laptop plugged in, I got closer to 9.5 minutes. So that's actually really great. You do have to remember that this isn't a power generator, it is a battery backup system. All right, so I'm going to show you guys what happens in the event of a power outage with CyberPower's CP1500. So as you can see right now, it's outputting at 0 watts because nothing's plugged in. I'm going to go ahead and plug in my hot glue gun, which says that it runs at about 60 watts. So I'm going to plug this into the back of the CyberPower. And when I turn this on, the wattage should jump up on it. So glue gun's on. It is not really 60 watts, but it says it's running at around 50. 50 to 60 watts, so close enough. But so right now this is outputting wattage to the glue gun that I plugged in. And we're going to see what happens in the event of a power outage. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the estimated runtime. So it says 159 minutes with the glue gun plugged in. And as you can see, the current load right here is pretty accurate because it was at nothing, and then when I plugged it in, it did jump up a little bit, showing you that there's a current load connected to the CP1500. So let's see what happens during a power outage. So I'm going to lose power to the unit. When you lose power to it, you're going to hear an audible chime like you just heard, and this on battery light's going to display the icon, and also you're going to notice that the fan is going to kick in. So the fan has kicked on and it's not loud at all. It's equivalent to the sound of your PC's fan. So I love that it's not super loud. That's great. You're going to keep getting that audible beep, and like I showed you earlier, you can disable that by holding the down button if you don't want to keep hearing that. But right now, it says we can get 270 minutes of battery backup with a 60-watt hot glue gun plugged in. So a lot of laptops and stuff run around 100 watts, so you can actually get quite a lot of battery backup in the event of a power failure with the CyberPower CP1500. So that's what happens when you lose power. And also you can see that there have now been 2 events. The first event was when I lost power a little earlier today, and the second event just kicked on because I just lost power now during this review. So you can actually see a lot of information. Your input's at 0 because you're not getting power. Your output's at 120 volts. That's battery power at 60 hertz, which is standard. Now let's see how quickly the backup goes from battery to mains power when I turn the power back on to the CyberPower CP1500. So I'm going to go ahead and restore power. Power is restored. And when power is restored, you can actually hear the switch inside switching from battery to main power. Power switching was super fast at a typical transfer time of 4 milliseconds. So that's almost instantaneous. So the moment this thing loses power, it's going to kick right into its battery backup, which is great. I love that CyberPower included Sinewave with this, EMI and RFI protection, as well as 1500 joules of surge protection. Speaking of surge protection, they also back this up with a $500,000 equipment protection warranty, and that is a lifetime warranty. You're also going to get a 3-year limited warranty on the entire UPS. So the CyberPower warranty on this is great as well. A couple of things that I like that they've included with this are AVR, or automatic voltage regulation. It's super important when considering a UPS that it has AVR built into it. CyberPower included it with the CP1500. What this does is allows the power to remain stable when there's sudden dips, and I showed you guys that earlier where you could set your low voltage and high voltage, and that is for the AVR to adjust your power to get a super clean power signal. So instead of resorting to backup, it will try to correct the high and lows of the power spikes. And what this does is it prolongs the battery's life as well as protects your equipment. Some other things they threw into this design is green power UPS technology. And what that is that cuts down on your heat as well as power consumption and improves operating efficiency of the CP1500. The CP1500 also has Energy Star certification, if that's important to you guys. I like to see that it has Energy Star on it. The UPS topology of this unit is line interactive with an active PFC or power factor correction. So if you want a great UPS, definitely look into the CyberPower CP1500. This has been my review of CyberPower CP1500. If you guys enjoyed this in-depth review, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you have any comments or questions about this unit, go ahead and leave it down below. I do try to respond to all comments and questions as quickly as I can. If you enjoyed this review, you can also subscribe to my channel at Theatrically Jerry. I do a lot of review on equipment like this, DJ and stage lighting, atmospherics. I do tutorials on light consoles and controllers. If stuff like that interests you, go ahead and subscribe. And thank you guys for watching.